Yo, what is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the NBA slate on DraftKings for Wednesday, January 24th. We have a 9-game slate today, so pretty nice size slate. Before we get started looking at the games, looking at each position where we want to go, make sure you guys drop a like on the video. Would really appreciate it, and make sure you subscribe as well if you haven't already, so that way you'll get all my new uploads in your subscription box, and you'll never miss out on any of my new videos. But yeah, guys, looking at today's 9-game slate, starting off at point guard, looking at this position, looking at options we want to go to. Up top here, we've got James Harden, 10,900 going up against Dallas. Definitely not a spot where I want to play Harden today, at least I don't think so. Not only is almost 11K, it's a 9-game slate, so we have a lot of other players that we can target. This isn't the best matchup for Harden. I'd much rather have Chris Paul for nearly $1,500 cheaper. Paul's in a much better spot. Dallas really struggles defensively against the point guard. Dennis Smith Jr., not a good defender. And you're getting a lot of savings going off of Harden, going down to Chris Paul. I think Paul's a pretty good cash play here. I think he's able to get at least like 40, 45 DraftKings points. Has a pretty high floor. Even with playing with Harden lately, he's still showing a high floor and high ceiling. So Paul is a really good cash game play, in my opinion, on this slate. I think Oladipo in tournaments makes a lot of sense in a matchup against Phoenix. Obviously, we love to attack Phoenix because they don't play a ton of defense. They played at a very fast pace. Earlier this year against Phoenix, Oladipo only played 21 minutes, which is kind of surprising. He might have got hurt in that game, not really sure. But he only played 21 minutes, put up 32 DraftKings points in 21 minutes earlier this year against Phoenix. This is definitely one of those games where Oladipo could go for 50, 55, 60 DraftKings points. Really good tournament play. Chris Paul, the much better cash option, though, if we're looking at those 9K point guards. But we definitely have other plays that we can go to that's a little bit cheaper. Pretty loaded position today. A lot of good options at point guard. As you can tell by the cover and by the thumbnail, in this 8K range, a guy that I absolutely love for tournaments today is Lou Williams at 8,100 in a matchup against Boston. Now, obviously, you're going to see the matchup with Boston, not want to play Lou Will today. But Lou Will is mainly a tournament play for me. Not sure if I'm going to be going there in cash games. But for tournaments, I love him. He's got the narrative going for him today that he kind of got snubbed from the All-Star game, and he was tweeting out how he was kind of upset that he didn't get in the spot in the All-Star game. So this could be a spot where Lou Will just comes out, starts chucking the ball, shows everybody that he should be an All-Star. Like I said, this is really strictly a tournament play, but for tournaments, I think Lou Will has a ton of upside here, especially if you think this game stays competitive. It's probably going to be because Lou Will has a really big game. The matchup is not ideal at all. Boston pretty good defensively, we all know that. But I just feel like Lou Will's going to come out here, just show everyone that he's an all-star and he's going to take 20-plus shots. And there's a good chance that he really goes off in this game. So I definitely like him in tournaments, 8,100. I think he's going to be low owned on this slate, especially because we got a lot of good options at this position. Just all around, there's a lot of good plays in that price range. But if we're looking a little bit cheaper under Lou Williams, there's another one of my 5 plays here that I really like at 7,600. Ben Simmons in a matchup against the Bulls. Love this spot for Ben Simmons. Really cheap at 7,600. This is the cheapest we've seen him in a while. And TJ McConnell is not going to play today, so that should mean more minutes for Ben Simmons. He's probably going to get all the minutes that he can handle in this game. Earlier this year against the Bulls, Simmons did put up a really big game. Went off for 58 DraftKings points in 34 minutes. Had a triple-double in that game, but Joel Embiid did not play in that game. We know Joel Embiid is going to play today, but I still like Simmons, just given the price tag and the matchup. Simmons has had some pretty brutal matchups lately against Memphis, Milwaukee, Boston. Those teams are really good defensively against the point guard. Much better spot here. Definitely like Simmons at just 7,600. I think he's really underpriced today. And I think this is a spot where he bounces back and gets you at least 35 to 40 DraftKings points and is able to pay off this price tag. But looking at point guard and looking for other plays that we can go to, maybe if we want to go a little bit cheaper to this 5K range or go sub 5K and try and find value. Not seeing a lot of plays like in this 5K, 6K range I think are like must plays, great plays in my opinion. You could go to like Jerry Grant, who's coming off a big game. We don't have any news on Chris Dunn if he's going to play or not. Obviously if Dunn is out, that's an upgrade for Grant. He did play 47 minutes their last game. It was a double overtime game. Put up 53 DraftKings points. The game before that, Dunn was out and Grant played 26 minutes. Put up 27 DK points. If Dunn is out today, we can definitely consider Grant. I don't think he's like a must-play, though, especially with his price nearly 6K, but he is definitely an option in that mid-tier. But looking for value at this position, going sub 5K, Another one of my 5 plays is coming from point guard. Got 3 plays at this position. That is Dejounte Murray at 4,800 in a matchup against Memphis. Like I said in my video yesterday, the Spurs are going to be starting Dejounte Murray. He's going to be their starting point guard from here on out. It's pretty much been confirmed. He started on Tuesday night against the Cavs. And I am recording this video as that game is going on, and Murray is having a pretty nice game. Think he has another really good game today. The Spurs are on a back-to-back, so there's a good chance some guys will rest, like Tony Parker. Some of these veterans could rest here. Could mean Dejounte Murray could get really good minutes. And his minutes are a lot more secure, especially now that he's starting. And he didn't see a price increase at all. He's still pretty cheap at just 4,800. He has a lot of upside when he gets minutes. So definitely like Dejounte Murray as a value play at point guard. I think he's a really good value option I see looking at this slate the night before. And that's really what I'm seeing at point guard, at least options that are 5K and under. Murray is definitely the value play that really stands out to me at this position. We might get news throughout the day that could open up value, but right now Dejounte Murray is the guy that I really like here. So moving on to shooting guard. Looking at shooting guard today, options we want to target at this position. Another narrative we have going today with the All-Star thing is Devin Booker. He was another guy that kind of got snubbed from the All-Star game. He was also tweeting out about it after the selections came in and Booker was not selected. So he's kind of got the same narrative going for him that Lou Williams does. So definitely a good spot for Devin Booker in some tournaments. Definitely not a cash game play for me, especially not at 8,500. But there's a good chance he's going to come out and chuck up a ton of shots and try and prove to everyone that he should be an all-star. So if you want to pay up for him as shooting guard, I definitely like him on this slate in tournaments. I'd much rather have Lou Will, though, for a little bit cheaper. Lou Will definitely one of my favorite tournament plays on the slate. But looking for other shooting guard plays, not sure if I'm going to be paying up here unless I don't play like Lou Will at this position or Chris Paul. Jimmy Butler's questionable, but I'm not sure if I want to play him even if he plays on this slate. So maybe go into this mid-tier. Andrew Wiggins is a guy that stands out in this mid-tier if Jimmy Butler is out. Now Wiggins is priced up to 6,900, which is pretty expensive for him. But in the last 2 games with Butler out, Wiggins has played 36 and 41 minutes and has put up 38 and 51 DraftKings points. So he's played pretty well. But like I said, he's priced up. You need 35. You pretty much need at least 35 DraftKings points from Wiggins to return value on this price. He can definitely get there if Butler's out. But obviously, if Butler plays today, we're not going to be paying this much for Andrew Wiggins. So he's sort of a wait and see for me. If Butler's out, I like Wiggins. If Butler plays, don't like Wiggins. Pretty simple. But looking for cheaper plays at shooting guard, maybe if we want to try and find some value here. There aren't a ton of plays in this 5K range that absolutely stand out to me as being like great options. You could go to someone like Justin Holiday, Zach LaVine. I think he's going to have his minutes limit increased to like 24, 25 minutes. You could play him, but these are definitely not guys I'm really trying to jam in on this slate. So trying to find value at shooting guard, go 5K and under. I think Denzel Valentine at 5K could definitely be a play today, especially if Chris Dunn is out. With Chris Dunn out their last game, Valentine did see some nice minutes, played 38 minutes in a double overtime game, put up 23 DraftKings points. If Dunn's out again, that could lean to Valentine getting more run at point guard, more opportunities for him to have the ball in his hands. He did dish out 5 assists their last game against the Pelicans. So if you're trying to save at shooting guard, Denzel Valentine, a guy I see 5K. Another guy that I see sub 5K is Wesley Matthews at 4,800. He's been really consistent lately. This is a great spot. Going up against Houston, a really fast-paced game, or Dallas at least, they're going to be playing up in pace here. And like I said, Matthews has been consistent, putting up 25, 21, 34, 23 DraftKings points his last 4 games. He's been getting a ton of minutes, 39, 35, 38, 30 minutes his last 4 games. There's a good chance he's going to see plenty of James Harden defense here. So I really like Wesley Matthews as a guy you can use on this slate to save some salary at shooting guard or small forward. And that's really the value that I see at shooting guard, at least options that are 5K and under. You could go to like Tyrone Wallace at just 4,400, but not the best matchup. But he has been playing a lot of minutes lately, been playing over 30 minutes a night, 33, 32, 39, 32 minutes his last 4 games. He's been pretty consistent, been giving you about a 20-point floor. You could play him at 4,400, but I'm sure we'll get better value will open up throughout the day. And I'm sure we can just find better value all around. So really at shooting guard, the value plays I see here that I like are definitely Denzel Valentine and Wesley Matthews, 2 guys, 5K, 4,800 you can use for value. But moving on to small forward, looking at small forward today here, looking at players that I haven't already talked about. Not a lot of players here that I haven't already mentioned or I just don't have a lot of interest in today. You could play someone like DeRozan at 8,300 in a matchup against the Hawks. That is a good matchup. Not sure if I'm trying jam in DeRozan on this slate, though, with him being priced over 8K. I think there are better options available. You could play TJ Warren in this mid-tier, 7K in a matchup against the Pacers. Pretty good matchup. And Warren has been consistent lately. His last 2 games, he's put up 35 and 35 DraftKings points. So he's been hitting value on this price tag, but I just think there are better plays around. I'd much rather have Wiggins for 100 less, especially if Jimmy Butler is out today. Harrison Barnes, definitely a good cash play. If you need a cash game play, a small forward in that mid-tier, 6,700 in a fast-paced game against Houston. Dallas playing up in pace. I don't mind Barnes in that mid-tier as well. But same thing, I think I prefer Wiggins over Barnes if Jimmy Butler doesn't play. But maybe trying to find value at small forward. I definitely think there's a value play here that I see the night before that really stands out to me. Really, really cheap. Davis Bertans at 3,900 in a matchup against Memphis. Love Bertans today as a value option, especially if we get news that Paul Gasol is going to be out again. Pau was out Tuesday night against the Cavs, and Bertans did get the start. And as I'm recording this video, that game is going on, and Bertans is playing pretty well. He's seen pretty nice minutes. The Spurs are on a back-to-back, so there's a really good chance Gasol doesn't play today, and Bertans draws another start. With him just being 3,900, I definitely think he's one of the better value plays on this slate. If he's back in the starting lineup again, pretty likely he's able to return value on this price tag. So he's definitely a cheap option. I'm really going to have my eye on today. Someone that you can use to free you up some salary to where you can fit in some studs on the slate. You do have TLC at that same price tag in a matchup against the Bulls. I definitely think we can consider him as well for a value play. He's also 3,900, so he's really cheap. He's been seeing really nice minutes lately. His last 2 games, he's played 30 minutes in both games and has put up 24 and 26 DraftKings points. If Redick and Bayless are both out again, we already know McConnell's not going to play. TLC should see really nice minutes again, and he makes a lot of sense. Him and Bertans, 2 really good value options. If injuries fall their way and they're back in the starting lineup or back to getting some good minutes, both of them are really good value options. But that's really what I'm seeing as small forward. At least plays that stick out to me on this slate, looking at this slate the night before. So moving on to power forward, and looking at power forward today, starting up top here, we've got Boogie and AD in a matchup against the Hornets. We all know Boogie's coming off probably the best game of any player this year. He put up almost 100 fantasy points. I actually think he reached 100 fantasy points the other day in that double overtime game against the Bulls. Yeah, he crossed the century mark, put up 103 DraftKings points his last game, played 52 minutes in a double overtime game, 44 points, 24 rebounds, 10 assists. Just an absolutely insane game from Boogie. There's a good chance he's going to carry some pretty heavy ownership today because people are going to be point chasing and they're going to play him since he's coming off a 100-point game. But this is definitely not the best matchup. Going to be matched up with Dwight Howard, who is a solid defender. Howard could give Boogie some troubles here. So at 11,600, I think I'll shy away from Boogie on this slate, especially if he's going to be high owned because of all the people who are going to point chase. I would much rather take the savings off of Boogie and go with Anthony Davis. You're getting $800 savings. Davis is in a much better matchup. Not having to see, he won't see Dwight Howard. Howard will be matched up with Boogie, which should leave like Marvin Williams on Anthony Davis, and Davis should totally be able to dominate in that matchup. He's the guy that I would much rather have if you're going to pay up for one of these Pelicans bigs. I'd much rather have Davis over Boogie today. But I'm not sure if I'm really trying to jam in either of them on the slate because there are a lot of good options we can go to. So looking for other power forward plays. Blake Griffin's also coming off a big game. He's in a pretty good spot against Boston. Definitely can attack Boston at power forwards or with power forwards and centers. They're not good defensively against bigs as they are against guards. But you do have LaMarcus Aldridge for $600 cheaper, who could definitely be a great play here if Paul Gasol is out again. We already know Kawhi's not going to be playing for a while, so great spot for Aldridge here. Still has a pretty nice price of just $8,400. I think he actually dropped in price. He's played well against Memphis this year. Through 2 games, he's averaged 42 DraftKings points. So he's a good option if you want to pay up at power forward, and you can fit in Aldridge on this slate. I think he's definitely worth that price tag. But looking for other power forward plays, maybe if we want to go to this mid-tier, I think Domantas Sabonis at 6,500, really good play today if Miles Turner is out. I believe Turner is questionable. There's a good chance he could come back. Obviously, if Turner comes back, we're not going to pay $6,500 for Sabonis. But if Turner is out again, Sabonis, a great play, especially given the matchup today against Phoenix, one of the worst defensive teams, and a team that does play at a very fast pace. So Sabonis in this mid-tier, if Miles Turner's out again, really like him as an option that we can go to at power forward. Also in this mid-tier, you got Taj Gibson, who's definitely a good cash play, been really consistent lately. If Jimmy Butler's out, that should lean to Gibson getting more opportunities to score the ball. Did take 13 shots their last game, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals, 31 DraftKings points. Been pretty consistent lately, putting up 28 and 31 DK points his last 2 games. We know Gibson going to play a ton of minutes. He's played nearly 40 minutes just about every game his last 4 games. As long as this game is competitive, Gibson's going to play a ton of minutes. Really good option, especially in cash if you need to save a little bit of salary at power forward. I like him at just 5,600, especially if Butler's out. That's a little bit of a boost for Gibson. And then going sub 5K, trying to find cheap value. There is one play here that stands out to me. Jarrell Martin at 4,600. If JaMychal Green is out today, definitely like Jarrell Martin as a cheap option we can go to. Not the best matchup against the Spurs, but in the last 2 games that JaMychal Green has missed, I know Green missed the last game. I think he came out early in the Pelicans game. But Martin's played 35, 32 minutes his last 2 games, 22 and 27 DraftKings points, so he's been pretty consistent. He's still cheap at 4,600. Definitely think he is a guy that we can go to if we're looking to save money at power forward. And then the last play I want to mention at power forward for value is Nemanja Bjelica at 4,300, going up against Portland. If Jimmy Butler's out today, it's pretty clear. If Butler's out, we can consider Bjelica. If Butler plays, we're not going to play Bjelica. But in his last 2 games with Butler out, Bjelica has got the start, and he's played 26 and 35 minutes and has put up 19 and 37 DraftKings points. Did get a price increase up to 4,300, but if Butler doesn't play, there's a good chance Bjelica is still able to pay off this price tag. He can get you 22, 23 DraftKings points. We know he's going to get the minutes, so him and Martin are 2 guys that I see 5K and under that we can go to for value at this position. But that's what I see at power forward. Looking for value, at least plays that really stand out to me on this slate. So moving on to center. Looking at center today, looking at guys that I haven't talked about yet. You can always go to Joel Embiid in tournaments at 9,700. He's one of the expensive center options on this slate. Definitely not a guy I'm trying to jam in on this slate, though. Karl-Anthony Towns is also at that same price range. I think I prefer Towns over Embiid, especially if Jimmy Butler's out today. That's going to lean to Karl-Anthony Towns getting more opportunities to score the ball. And he's probably going to be pretty low owned on this slate because he's coming off 2 pretty disappointing games. His last 2, he's only put up 41 and 39 DraftKings points and just hasn't played that well lately. So you're going to get Towns at pretty low ownership, and we know this guy has a ton of upside. So besides Boogie and AD, I think Towns probably be my favorite center to pay up for, especially in tournaments because I think he's not going to be owned at all today. You also got Aldridge at center, who I think is a really good play today, especially if Paul misses. Another guy that I really like for tournaments is Dwight Howard at 8,200. Aldridge, I'd say, is a much better cash play for just 200 more. But Howard in tournaments, this is a spot where Howard's going to have to be on the court as much as he can take. They're going to need him to play a ton of minutes. He's one of their big guys, one of their good defenders. They're going to need him on the court to guard Anthony Davis, to guard DeMarcus Cousins. Howard's kind of expensive, but lately he's been really consistent and has flashed upside. Last 4 games, 52, 48, 43, 49 DraftKings points, so he's gotten you 6x on this price tag in 3 of his last 4 games. And like I said, this is a spot where Howard's going to have to play at least 35 minutes if this is a competitive game. And when Howard's on the court, the guy's going to grab rebounds. He will score the ball. Definitely a double-double machine. So I like him at center, especially in tournaments today. If you're looking to pay up at this position, I definitely think he's an option we can go to. But maybe if we're going to this mid-tier, another one of my 5 plays, my final play, is coming from center in this mid-range. Clint Capela at 6,600 in a matchup against Dallas. Love this spot for Capela. Think he's way too cheap. As long as he gets minutes here, the guy's going to crush. Dallas, they can't defend bigs. They're a terrible rebounding team. This is a spot where Capela could definitely get you 20 and 15 and put up a monster game. Earlier this year against Dallas, he only played 20 minutes, but still managed to put up 30 DraftKings points in only 20 minutes. Got a double-double. You do worry about him not playing a ton of minutes here because the minutes have been a little inconsistent lately. His last few games, 28, 26, 30, 26 minutes. But if he gets 30 minutes or more against this Dallas front court, he could absolutely dominate and just put up a monster game. At 6,600, I think he's a great cash play on this slate. I think he's too cheap. Has upside for tournaments. Just really like Clint Capela at this mid-tier center. Just all around, I think he's a good play on this slate. And then looking for value at this position, you obviously got Gibson here who you can go to. You could go to Valanciunas in a matchup against the Hawks, but I'm not sure we need to pay $5,500 for him. I think we just go up a little bit more. Get someone like Capela, Sabonis. I just don't think we need to go to Valanciunas on this slate. So looking sub 5K for options I haven't already talked about. Don't see a lot of players here that I haven't already mentioned, like Martin you got eligible at this position. You could go to Tyson Chandler if he starts today. He did rest their last game against Milwaukee. Greg Monroe started that game. So Chandler's probably going to be back in the starting lineup. And when he started this year, he's getting consistent minutes. He's usually going to play mid-20s, close to 30 minutes when he's in the starting lineup. And this is a great matchup against the Pacers. They're one of the worst defensive teams against the center position. So I do like Tyson Chandler as someone you can use at center. If you're trying to save some salary, he did put up 26 DraftKings points in 25 minutes earlier this year against the Pacers. So Chandler, sub 5K at center, is a guy that I think we can use today. But that's really what I'm seeing at center today, at least options that stand out to me. I think that's pretty much it for center. I think that's pretty much it for this position. I think that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, just make sure you give it a like. Make sure you subscribe as well if you haven't already. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. Give me a follow there if you haven't already. Or you can leave a comment down below, and I'll just try and get back to your question as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck tonight, guys. Peace.